The primary function of parliamentarians is to enact laws and rules and regulations that would meet the aspiration of the common man. In fact, they are there to do check and balance to the members of the executive to ensure that the members of the executive are putting in place measures that were allocated to them to carry out their activities. They are there to check also if the budget of the different ministries are well used and well respected, and also if the executive are providing basic services to the people of their different constituencies. They are also there to ensure that the executive respect the rule of law and to make sure that no one is above the law and no one is below the law. In fact, they are the mouthpiece of the people of their different constituencies. That is why they are being selected through a democratic means at their different constituencies, whereas others, in terms of those at the upper house are also being selected through a democratic means by those which the people had pinpointed and also those which the people had given the mandate to elect their senators. The members of parliament are also supposed to represent the interests of the people when they are in the upper and the lower house to discuss issues that will affect the common man. But since the crisis of national identity card came up in Cameroon, Cameroonians are yet to see concerted efforts from the members of parliament in order to call for those in authorities at the level of the executive to put an end to the ID card crisis, to ensure that Cameroonians at their different constituencies are given the pride of place to receive original copies of their national identity card. The members of parliament, when it comes to other issues in terms of political restructuring of the constitution, you will hear words like "our hands are tied." In fact, it is common for you to hear they will tell you that their hands are tied on key issues. But now, ID card, which is known as the identification document of a Cameroonian, is the number one document that a Cameroonian must have, the original copies of their ID card. With Cameroonians having difficulties to obtain their ID card, yet those whom they elected through democratic process, who are their mouthpiece, are yet to come together to see how they can resolve the problem of these same people. Are their hands also tied at the level of fighting that those authorities that be should put an end to the ID card crisis? Some are waiting for 2 years to have original copies of their national identity card. Others have waited for 6 years and the ID card were given 6 years after, just for it to expire within 4 years. Some have waited for 4 years and they are still waiting. Some, they don't even have hopes that their national identity card will come. Taking into consideration that the temporal pass which is given to Cameroonians when you go to make your identification card is not durable, can fade away within 3 months. And also you cannot do some basic transaction, some strong bank transaction with that identity card. What will Cameroonians do to ensure that this is well resolved, the crisis is resolved? At the level of the opposition parties, one would have expected that the key function of the opposition party, especially at this time, is to help to do check and balance for the ruling government to put an end to the ID card crisis. But the major opposition parties, instead of fighting for the rights of the people to have the national identity card original copy handed to them so that they can go and register to the electoral list and cast their ballot for any election that will come, the opposition parties also are muted. If the opposition parties, members of parliament, regional assembly elected officials cannot speak now when there is ID card crisis in Cameroon, cannot stand for their people, what else can they stand for? This is House of Commons with me, Tah Mai Javis. You're welcome back from the transition. If you're watching us, this is House of Commons. Here in the studio, we have Mr. Edmond, who is also going to talk about this issue of the national identity card as far as the opposition and the members of parliament are concerned. Last week, we looked at the ID card crisis, and this time we are still on the ID card crisis, but looking at those who are supposed to speak now on behalf of the people, if they are actually speaking. They are silent. What is keeping them silent? Edmond, happy Sunday, and thanks for joining us.
Happy Sunday, Mr. Tah Mai Javis. Thank you for inviting me once more. And you permit me extend some greetings to my loved ones, like my father, who is so flexible and dynamic, working for the development of our community, and the entire Minka family, who is now bereaved, for we lost one of our icon in the family, Mama Rebecca. Thank you, Mr. Tah Mai Javis, and I pray that as time unfolds, we'll really handle this idea of ID cards deeply so that we'll analyze some facts based on the parliamentarians and these major political parties. Thank you.
Thank you. Also, we await the arrival of Table Post, who is supposed to be here, Mba Lucas Table. The CEO of Table Post, who is supposed to be here. We also await the arrival of Ngaten, Donald, who is supposed to be here, and also Nick Anu. Those are the three panelists who have indicated to us that they are all almost here in the studio with us because of the, the traffic situation we have in Cameroon's commercial capital, Douala. Edmond, I start with you since you are here as the lone panelist for now. I want us to look at this ID card issue. It's more than 7 years of having this crisis of national identity card. It is the #1 document of a Cameroonian. What could be the problem as far as this issue is concerned?
Thank you for that question, Mr. Tah Mai. When I saw the question, I was somehow embarrassed for an ID card should not even be an issue of debate in our country. As far as I'm concerned, we know that we are in a country where everything is politics. A country where everything is politics, with the sense that we have the parliamentarians and major political parties. The parliamentarians being the mouthpiece of the people. That we know in any country, if things go wrong, the first people to air out their mind should be the parliamentarians. But in Cameroon, as we are talking, it is very difficult for the citizens to follow up the ID card, which is their political rights. Mr. Tah Mai Javis, when you mentioned the idea of this ID card issue, I vividly recalled when I was in United Arab Emirates in Dubai. I see how to have this, what they call the Emirates ID cards. And in Gabon, they call it carte de séjour for foreigners. But as we speak, in Cameroon now, it is easy for foreigners to have what we call resident permit than for us to, all Cameroonians, to have an ID card. It is a really call for concern. But our parliament, or the parliamentarian, they are still silent. And this takes me back to the English history, the Glorious Revolution, where the parliament, when the English people were going through the hurdles, it was the parliament that held that battle in order to resolve those problems. But in our own country, since the parliamentarians, the majority, they keep their political parties more than the interests of the citizens. And those are some of the reasons that make them to remain mute. And more to that, we talked of, you did mention of major political parties. And a country with almost about 300 political parties as we speak, but none of them have come out broadly in order to condemn or to bring propose solutions for us, the citizens, not to go through this hell as far as ID cards is concerned.
Well, you see none of them. I want to get clear. We have other mushroom parties. I don't want to say mushroom, but we have other political parties.
Obviously.
Who also will say that their hands are tied.
Yes, it is a common saying in our country in order to escape their duties. Yes, we saw how Professor Maurice Kamto, when he stood up with his political ideology, and we saw many Cameroonians who rallied behind him when he went and he escorted them in prison, and just few are out and they are still there. Now, if we are still talking about these ID cards, that if we move around, I will quote you example. It is very easy when you are moving around with foreigners, and maybe in a police control, you see that many Cameroonians do not have ID cards, but those foreigners, they have a resident permit. And how can you argue that? To the extent that some of them, they need to pay and continue, while the foreigners in the country, they move freely, which is a
so if I get you, you are indirectly saying that Cameroonians are foreigners in their own country.
That is how the situation has put Cameroonians.
Okay.
That's how the situation has put Cameroonians into.
We have just been joined by the CEO of Table Post, Lucas Table, as well as also social media guru, Gaten Donald, which I earlier announced that they will be here. The CEO of Table Post, you're welcome, Lucas Table. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much, Javis. Thank you for having me. Thanks for having me, televiewers. I'm sorry I'm late because of the Douala traffic.
Of course, we are experiencing the traffic, which is part of the reason why we are discussing issues of national identity card. If our MPs cannot stand for road, we at least believe that they should stand for ID card. But if they cannot stand for, what else can they stand for?
That is a question. That's a question. I think the ID card issue, for those of us who are very much available online, is quite disturbing, and it's preoccupying for many Cameroonians because almost every Cameroonian requires a valid national identity card for you to do almost everything. And when I mean national identity card, I mean the original, not the receipt that you are giving when you pay for it. So I think it's a preoccupying issue, but I think in the course of this program, we are going to try to see how we can contribute our own best in terms of what is the problem, where is this problem emanating from, and how best it can be handled.
Okay, take on a few messages for coming to Donald. This one reads, it says, greetings to you all in the studio. Please, greetings to you all in the studio. This is my first time to hear that Cameroon has a Senate and a Parliament. Two houses with no impact. I am Ayed Fred. Yes, Fred, we have a parliament now. This other one reads, it says, good afternoon to you all. I think that these parliamentarians are more for their fundings and not for the people. So to me, they don't exist. This other one writes, it says, I am Fondo writing in the Boya. I want to say happy Sunday to you guys in the studio. Nice topic. What I think is the situation is that the members of parliament were not elected and so cannot even stand for the people. In fact, we should all instead be questioning why they are not there to eat more money for what they have been given. This one right, it says, Good afternoon, sir. Your topic is very relevant. Do not forget that the ID card crisis is not the only crisis we have in Cameroon, but they are closely related to each other. Note that the failure of ID card production is an indication of the failure of the entire system. And also remember that Parliament doesn't represent you and I, so their silence does not surprise me. This is Jacob from Kumbu. Gaten, social media guru, thanks for joining us.
Javis, it's always a pleasure to be part of House of Commons. It's a very worrying situation, particularly for those of us who stay in Boya. Some young people say that they prefer to have an ID card than to have a passport. Can you imagine? An ID card is just 10,000 francs, but the passport is 100,000 francs. Because at certain moments, the passport becomes irrelevant even. Then the ID card is so almighty. It's a worrying situation because given that we are facing some challenging times, young people want to have their ID cards because automatically you're in crime if you don't have a national ID. And I don't know what happens that the production, mine in particular, took from 2019 to 2022. I had my ID card just maybe in May.
You're lucky.
Yeah, I'm lucky. I'm happy that as far as I can. Before that, yes. It's the situation is more like it's a green card to have an ID card in Cameroon. I'm lucky. Now, what happens in Boya is just that when you go to extend, they can give you like 2 years. But what is really happening? I just think that. Anyway, I'll be proposing some solutions. The situation is so.
But now, my question now: why is it that we have members of parliament, senators, who we know when it comes to other issues like duration of the head of state, other issues, they will tell you their hands are tied. ID card. If they cannot stand for Cameroonians, what else can they actually stand for?
No, before talking about the Senate or the parliamentarians, let us try to see, like Mr. Tebo said, what is wrong? If now that the passport has been made available or easier, why can it not be that the ID card can also follow that process?
Is it not the right of these members of parliament to call those authorities and ask this question, what is wrong? We see the US Senate will call executive and put them on the bench and ask them tough questions. We see other countries, Nigeria, who call their executive and put them on a hot seat. We see in Kenya, they will call executive and put them on a hot seat. Congressional the committee we sit and call these people on the hot seat. In Cameroon, we are yet to see. The only moment we see is when it comes to defending budget.
That the parliamentarians have been reduced to maybe
budget
defense. Yeah, budget. You hear, but issues that concern normal day-to-day life. So it's a prayer that these issues should be tackled, because, like Javis, what I'm saying, you cannot understand. Maybe those of you stay in across the Mongo, you cannot understand. Yes, you are a responsible man. You go to work. You are well employed, but an ID card makes you just a common criminal. So it's practically a call for consent. Okay. So yes, so we have to get into the issues with time as we
please
go on.
When we are supposed to start applying for a new ID card from the date of expiration of the old one, please, when are we supposed to start applying for a new ID card? The date of expiration of the old one. John Batty from Limbe. John Batty, I believe that when your ID card expires, before you go and apply for renewal. This one reads, is a good morning, Javis and the entire crew to the House of Commons today. I just want to add to your worry on the ID card issue. The fact that they are not being produced. Why should ID card even expire? Why the owner hasn't expired? Nor even move out of his or her country. Not to talk of taking up another nationality. Why at the expiry of the national identity card, the barrier is asked to make a certificate of nationality again with a national identity card in his hand? This is Donatus writing from Bunda. Mr. Edmond, now, what is the problem that members of parliament cannot stand for this? Why?
Mr. Tama, it's just to show the weaknesses of our legislative arm of government. We all know that Cameroon is made up of 3 clear, defined arms of government, which are the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. And practically, if the parliamentarian, your question is why is it that they are silent, is to explain to us that though in theory they said they are independent, but practically they are totally dependent still on what? The executive. I did mention that the parliament should be the voice of the people because they are representing the people. And if at this moment they are still silent, it means that they are still waiting maybe for an order, or some of them that are still afraid that they may use some words and executive that they are answerable to them, which ought not to be that, can still hammer on them. Yes, for example, I'm going still on the direction of this major political party, because our focus is the major political parties and these legislative or the parliamentarians. If you look at the upper house of assembly, the composition, we said the president will appoint 30 of them.
Yes.
If we look at the National Assembly, we'll see that it is just a handpick of few that are of opposition. So it means that it's just like a single family meeting that just one father, which is.
But how can you call it a single family meeting? Well, we saw that people went to the poll to vote for their members of parliament. We saw in Boya, we saw it in Limbe, we saw in different areas that people went and voted for their members of parliament. Is it not just because of the fact that a lot of people love the CPDM people and voted for them? Or are you insinuating that something went wrong?
Mr. Tama, you have used the very words that it seems that everybody loved the CPDM. No, as she said, it seems everybody wants to protect their own cake. Because we Cameroonians, I said we are using the word we, that when we have the notion that if you are a civil servant, definitely you are already a CPDM member. And if you are a CPDM member, it means you must work based on their party, which ought not to be so. As a civil servant, you are working for the nation. The fact that it is our right to work in the government service, the fact that we are working in the government should not be an ultimatum in order to join the political party or the ruling party. If you look at this issue of still the parliamentarian and the senator, and we are moving onwards, a democratic nation, that they will end up talking about voting. And anytime when something arises and they want to vote, it is definitely still on the favor of the CPDM, which is the ruling party. And be it rational or irrational, they need to go for in order to protect their party. Of which we saw the parliamentarians, when the English people were suffering in the hands of James II, the parliamentarians were the ones that stood up in order to denounce the idea of these divine rights of king. I'm tempted to say that we're in a government that they have revived this idea. At this time, we should call it maybe the presidential rights of king. That the order to rule the people is directly from God.
Okay. Before you may come to Baluka's table, CEO of Table Post, it is a controversial issue. When we look at, I read sometime in one of your posts where an extension was done for, I think, December 30 something or so, December 33,
February 31st.
Yeah, February 31st. And you ask the question, if we now have February 31st, is it not a sign that even the members of the police are kind of frustrated about this issue of extension?
Javis, I think it tells a lot. It tells a lot in terms of laxity, in terms of the laissez-faire. But when we're talking about this ID card issue or a crisis, let me put it that way, we have to go back to the genesis. I always like us to go back. We just said that there's ID card problem in Cameroon. People cannot have ID card in Cameroon. The question is why? And I want us to look at the why. Now, in 2016, the government of Cameroon decided to move from the old ID card system we had to the new ID card system. The new ID card system was meant to improve security for Cameroonians. It was a laudable initiative, I must confess. The key aspect of the new ID card system was the microchip, which was inserted into it, just like what you have on SIM cards. That microchip was meant to collect biodata, criminal records, and improve general security of all Cameroonians. So what happened was that the government, through the normal lobbying process, put out a tender, and the French company Gemalto won that contract. And to their credit, I must say, Gemalto is one of the top security firms in the world. It produces ID cards in France, in Switzerland, in more than 13 European countries, and many African countries. So it is credible. So Gemalto won this contract to produce these ID cards in Cameroon. Now, under the terms of this contract, they were supposed to have a center in Yaoundé. That center in Yaoundé was supposed to produce 600 ID cards a day, because the microchip in those ID cards are very expensive. They are rare metals. That's why the SIM cards you have, they are produced basically in Holland because of those rare metals, the microchip. So Yaoundé was supposed to produce 600 ID cards. Garoua was supposed to have a satellite production center, and we're supposed to have 50 mobile units in basically all divisions of the country to produce this ID card. Now, this contract was awarded at the level of the presidency. It was handed to Gemalto, and then production started. But now, when the production started, the idea was that police officers along the road were supposed to have a handheld machine, something like the POS you have in supermarket, where they take your ID card, they just swipe on the machine, and it gives them all your record. Have you been detained? Have you been driving while drunk? everything about you. Yes, are you wanted? Which is a wonderful initiative. But now, because of the expensive nature of this microchip, payment issues came into play. Now, Gemato was asking a particular amount for you to buy this microchip to fit into this ID card. The delegation of national security said, no, we cannot give you this amount until this satellite campuses, this satellite center in Marwa is existing, 50 units in these different regions are existing, and we cannot. They said, no, we need this money before we can expand to these centers so that we can buy more of this microchip and produce. So because of that problem with money this month, so the government held back the money, saying that Gemato is not fulfilling its obligation by ensuring, moreover, the microchips that were inserted in the ID card, they were not working. They were not collecting that result. The machines were not available, so they were not delivering as they were supposed to be.
So we should credit the Cameroon government, yes.
Yes, of course. The government tried its best. The government said, no, if you are not delivering, I'm holding funds. That is where the frustration came. So from 2016 till now, the center in Yaoundé, which was supposed to produce 600 ID cards, there has been no other center anywhere else in Cameroon. So which means that the center in Yaoundé, which was supposed to produce 600 ID cards a day, it's already working below capacity. It cannot even produce 600 ID cards a day. Why? Because the microchips they don't have. It's very expensive, and for security, and Cameroon cannot produce it. Cameroon doesn't have the technology and the means to produce those microchips, and we cannot go back to the old ID card system. So that is why we have this ID card crisis. So what is the way forward? There are two things. We can either shelve the contract and then battle with the legal case all over the world in terms of contract violation between Cameroon government and Gemato, or we can go ahead and trust Gemato that we can pay you the money and you deliver on producing. Even though the chips are not working, why should we even, the ones that have been producing the chips are not even working? The chips are not working because it goes beyond just the chips. It has to do with machines, it has to do with a computerized system, because it has to do with the handheld machines to confirm, it has to do with data. So is it fair to say that Cameroonians that have the new system of ID card have been scammed? No. It is not working. The chip is not working. It is not working as we speak. So that is why we are having the issue of ID card crisis. We do have now.
Let me come in here. You said, are they not supposed to update the Cameroonians? It just tells you of the nature of Cameroon in general, that we Cameroonians want everything to be given to us. The information is just given, it's available, but we don't take out time. Where? It's available.
He's speaking because he's a journalist.
No,
he's a CEO of a
he's apart from that, he's a concerned and informed Cameroonian. Apart from being, yes.
Where is it? Where
it's available. Where? And when you go to the, as I said, when you go to national security, the delegation for national security, I said everything is explained there about this new ID card, what it's meant for. You and I don't even know, because
let me do a cue in for you before coming to Nick. Let me do a cue in for you. You said the information is available, that Cameroonians are not willing to go get the information.
Some Cameroonians
are not willing to go get the information, as he has gotten the information. But let me ask you this. Is it the duty of Cameroonians to search for information, or is it the duty of the people Cameroonians have elected that go and be our mouthpiece to give this information? Is it not the duty of the lawmakers to go and have caucuses in their different municipalities, in their different constituencies? Should Cameroonians all go to the website, as we see in other countries where they have access to free information?
Javis, there is free information in Cameroon. I will shock you that, to my utmost maybe dismay or despair, I met up with some young people and they don't even know the deal of Boya. They have stayed in Boya for the past 10 years. University students don't know the deal of Boya. Do you want to blame the government? The government is supposed to come and tell them who the deal of Boya is. No, that's just to tell you that we are not interested. We are only there to criticize. We are not interested. As young people, look at nation building demands that we have our own duties. We are right, yes, it's our right that parliamentarians go talk about it for us, go talk about it in the assembly. We need ID cards, but what is our own duty? What is our own duty? What is our own duty?
You have a time to do it, but
you mentioned, I just want to say something. You mentioned that all civil servants are it's as if all civil servants belong to CPDM. There is no way in Cameroon that civil servants are obliged to support the CPDM. There is no way.
But that is the mentality.
No, mentality. What do you want? If there's a political party here and there's no order to replace, or there's no order that can, and look at elections, first of all, belonging to a political party is a right. And I have the right, whether I belong to, whether I'm a civil servant, I have the right to choose where I want to. If as an individual, I feel that there's no other party than CPDM, you will not tell me that, okay, I'm supporting CPDM because I'm a civil servant. I see some civil servants who don't support CPDM. So when you talk about presidential right of the king and all those things, as I was saying, Mr. Javis, there is one thing with us. ID card issue, like I noted, is a very worrying issue, particularly for us who come from the southwest. He cannot tell you, we cannot even tell you the number of times we were stopped on the road while driving here for our ID cards to be presented. Yes, but also, I don't want to blame the government. Let me go back to the security and whoever. I realized that my ID card came this May. I took it this May. But I also realized that the ID card was produced and sent out ending the December 2021. I go to the police station and they ask me, give me your name. Ngateng. It starts to N, and they go to N and check, it's not there. They don't bother to maybe check around. I only found my ID card. I went to the board. My name was not there. I only found my ID card when I was going to renew, because I just said, okay, let me check. I realized that my ID card who starts with Nga was found in A. So you can understand, at times it's just negligence. It's not as if
from you? Negligence from who?
Negligence from the people. Look at wait, please.
No,
Javis, I don't want us. I am coming. That's what I said. Some security officers are mentioned.
Okay,
it's negligence on their part. Yes. You cannot. Yeah, I don't want us to be blaming. I don't want us to be blaming the government.
So who take responsibility for that?
What do you mean by take responsibility? Let me ask you a question. Should the government be blamed because there's a security officer who cannot identify where your ID card is?
The government. We are not blaming the government.
The government is you and I.
We are talking about major opposition.
The government is you and I.
The government, not you and I.
Okay, we'll be coming back to you.
The government is you and I.
No, you have time to react. Let me read a few messages, then Nick will react. This is also from Boya. The problem of the ID card is not solely that of the state. We have Cameroonians who have more than one ID card. It makes it difficult for them to be issued another ID card. These individuals are the ones crying loudest about the state not issuing ID card. Before we complain, we should make sure our hands are clean. Let me give a rebuttal. Tah Javis did an ID card on February 2021, and till date it has not come out. I went to the police station where I did it in Moya. They asked me to come in 2024, and my first ID card I did got expired 10 years. So you will not tell me that it's an issue of double nationality. Okay, the issue of double nationality, to me personally, I have a lot of friends who don't have double nationality, whose ID card expired naturally 10 years. They have gone to make a new ID card. So we cannot just allude to them, to Cameroonians, that they have double national identity card issues. Nick, and you wanted to react to what he was saying?
Yeah, I will start from what Mr. Table was saying, and concerning the contract. The way he presented the issue of the contract between Jamalto and the Cameroon government is as if the Cameroon government was like begging them to take the contract or something. You cannot give a contract to somebody and the person is not delivering, and you fool your arms and sit and say because the person has not delivered this part of the contract, you will not give money. What was the terms of the contract? It just shows that it was a badly negotiated contract, meaning that it was negotiated by incompetent people who don't know how to negotiate in contracts with multinationals. The multinational companies are there for their interests, and if you are negotiating on behalf of the government, you have to be an expert. If you want to, you go and check where you see that those who negotiated those type of contracts were kind of fighting for their own personal interest in it, and that's why they have now to punish the rest of the population because of their incompetence. If we agree that you're supposed to deliver this and you don't deliver it, I have the right. It means that's breach of contract. I have the right to replace you with another person who can deliver. Another issue is the issue of sovereignty. You cannot just be handing the sensitive issue of the population of your people, secret information of your people to a foreigner. why can the production of ID card not be nationalized? You cannot tell me that Cameroonians cannot be able, they are able and capable Cameroonians who can be able to stand up and produce ID cards for Cameroonians. It can be done. And the issue here is those are the delegation of national security in charge of negotiating those contracts. The bone of contention is just their interest. Because in Cameroon, it is the interest, my interest that matter, not the interest of the population they are there to save. So you cannot blame anybody, you cannot blame the company in charge of production of ID card. We blame the Cameroon government. We will hold them accountable for not giving us ID card. It is our right, we pay for it, and they are breaching our own right also to have ID card, which is something we are supposed to present at every moment. ID card is not just to show the police, it is for your own good also. If something happened to somebody, the first thing that is used to identify you is your ID card, not just necessarily because you want to show it to the policeman. And the issue of putting SIM cards in ID cards, or microchips into ID card, it is a laudable initiative, but all of these things have to be well thought of and well planned. You cannot be putting chips in ID card. Meanwhile, the police stations don't have this information system. We are supposed to have a central information system where the police, the gendarmerie, and all other sectors of the government are linked into this network. Where if you have a case at a police station, they are supposed to just swap in your ID card and then get your information. Meanwhile, and also with the police who are on the road controlling, they are supposed to have these systems also with them, where your ID card is put and they swap, they get your information, not just controlling, having this information only on the road to check those who are moving. This is not enough. I think the issue of ID card has been overtalked, and our topic of today was focused on the parliamentarians why they are silent, and the Senate, major political party, why they are silent. It is, if you look at their activities, they are not just there for us. They are first of all there for their personal interests. And there's no gainsaying in this. If you go to the major political parties or the political parties in Cameroon, you hear of them only when there's election. You don't hear much of political education in ordinary time. They are just there interested when there's election, meaning that their focus is only on maybe wanting to gain the presidency and then start to lord over people and not to serve the people. Like in Cameroon, if you have a multiplicity of political parties in Cameroon, what are their roles?
Okay, you raise an issue. You raise an issue that those who negotiated this contract, you are sure that they may not have had the expertise to have this contract negotiated. Yeah. And so you said they negotiated based on their interest. Because of interest, can we say that it's because their hands too are tied with this contract that it's so difficult for them to cut off the contract because they will be exposed?
Obviously, it goes to other contracts of the country. The other contract they have been negotiating with the Chinese. If you look at those contracts, you can just cry. If you look at the terms of those contracts, you can just cry. You can just imagine the kind of people negotiating those contracts and then selling the common Cameroonians for their own personal gains. You can ask yourself, why is the production of passports so fast and efficient? Why can the same system not be implemented in the production of ID cards? And there's a lot of just incompetence.
That was the same question I had to ask.
There's a lot of incompetence in the whole ID card system. If you go to police station, you see a lot of ID cards lying there. Why can they not make a system where you come to produce your ID card, you give your localization plan, and then maybe they go into a contract with maybe delivery company,
like Elecam is doing.
Yeah, you go to delivery company where your ID card can come. You make a system where your ID card can come, and maybe they send you a text message or they give you a call, or they give you a localization plan where they can maybe institute a fee. If you say you institute 1,000 francs or maybe 2,000 francs for the delivery of your ID card, where you can maybe go into negotiate with a delivery company. And if your ID card is available, they go to your house and look for you and give you.
Okay.
Or they can give you a call. Because you go to police station, there are thousands of ID cards.
And they collect numbers for the to possession ID card. What do you do with numbers?
That's the cacophony in the whole show.
Good morning, sir. And this is Godi from Ngala from Estonia. Happy Sunday to you. I know you're watching us. He says, good morning, sir. My dear brother, Mr. Javis, one of the strongest pillars of an ordinary and civilized society is for it to be able to have a base that accounts for each of its citizens, and key to this is for every citizen to possess the legal IDs. This helps in so many ways. For example, to fight crimes of different kinds. It helps the government to draw up statistics and planning development programs. When you have a failed leadership that does not have its citizens at heart, then the system will be a failed one. We can talk as much as we want, but if the leadership doesn't change, then nothing will change. God love, writing from Estonia. But look at tables. You mentioned the fact that the nature of the chips, that the chips are not working, and you also talk about the expensive nature. You talked about the fact that there was supposed to be 600 production per day in Yaoundé, taking into consideration with other delocalized areas that we need to have. But if this is not working,
what was negotiated in the contract?
In the contract, it is not working. We have already released ID card. I'm sure you have a new ID card. Already released ID card, which means that if we take your new ID card, we slot that chips, it will not give us your criminal record. It will not even tell us who you are. It will not tell us because he says the chips are not working. Therefore, is it not right for the parliamentarians now to call, like we see, have a congressional meeting with these Jamato and prop them and update their people that this is a situation? Must Cameroonians go to the website? I'm sure you have it because you are employer of several journalists across the table poles and you have access to confidential information, which you may not release the sources.
Thank you very much, Javis. It's true. What I want to make it clear here is that I'm not holding brief for Yaoundé. No. I'm not holding brief on behalf of the government. But in the meantime, I don't want to engage in speculative and presumptive argument and debate. You see, when we are talking to Cameroonians, we have to speak fact. We keep our sentiments and arguments aside because people have different level of processing information. It would be wrong for me to come here and say that the contract government has with A and B is probably a terrible contract when I've not had the preview to view that contract myself. I don't have details of that contract. What I have are details of why we have ID card crisis through my sources of information, which is true. Now, I don't want to go into the details of contracts are not just cancelled as you and I think we can just sit here and cancel contracts. No. If that's the case, many colonial contracts would have been cancelled. That colonial countries which were colonized by their colonial masters are still paying repatriation till today. Why can you just wake up one morning and say that you colonized me, you killed my people, I will not pay you this repatriation again until it? Look at Haiti. Again, that's another topic. They are still paying repatriation to France and America till date, richest countries in the world. Why can you not cancel it? So contracts are not cancelled like that. But that again, let's not get into speculative discussion. We don't have the details, we don't have the details. What can be done? There can be an oversight. Of course, we can have an oversight. That is the role of the legislative arm.
Yes, that's what that's, yes.
Of course, we have, on the Constitution says that we have 3 co-equal parts of government, co-equal arm, which means that we have the executive, we have the legislature, and then of course we have the judiciary. They are co-equal, which means they are independent, they have the same power. This is where the legislative arm comes in, because the role of the legislation, apart from making law, is to ensure they have oversight. They check government's action. They're supposed to summon the ministers concerned, summon the company if need be, like what is ascertained in other countries, and do follow-up questions. Okay, this will happen. You have this contract, you've not produced. What is the problem? Who is at fault? Why can't government do this? Cameroonians are suffering, and that is supposed to stem up from our local representatives. The parliamentarian in Boya Central, the parliamentarian represent the people in Kumbu, or the one in Fata, in Kambe, or wherever, in Manfi, in Kuseri. So they are supposed to understand the plight of the people, and then they take this matter, or they take this issue, which is evidently a national crisis as we speak, and go to parliament where they can put government under pressure and ensure that this problem is quickly resolved. But that does not mean that we can just sit and just, we know there are lapses in the government. There are so many lapses we have at the level of the...
But what stops the people from doing that? What could be the problem? Why can't they do this?
The problems...
They basically know this thing better than us.
The problems are many, Javis. The problems are wide. To solve this problem for the parliamentarians, it has to do a lot with politics, it has to do a lot with interest, it has to do a lot with lobbying, it has to do a lot. But the problem still goes with the Cameroonian people, because at the end of the day, these are our elected officials and they are accountable to us. People don't even know who is their parliamentarian for their constituency. Let us be real with these things. People don't know if you ask 100 Cameroonians who is your councillor in your municipality, I don't mean the mayor, your councillor representing your own neighborhood, 100, not up to one person will tell you the name of the councillor. They don't know. No, you can't. No,
Nick, let him land. You react. Let him land. Let him land. You react. You have time. We have enough time.
You have to do your job. You can't be negligent with your own activity and then you are blaming another person. Do your job. I know my councillor, I've visited him, I've given him this complaint, this is the copy I gave him, this is my own I've kept for security purposes, I don't know why he has not taken action. Don't say I don't know because they don't do anything. No, that's wrong. That's the mentality that's keeping us where we are. We must do action. I have realized that Cameroonians have a problem of ID card. I took upon myself to understand why there is an ID card problem, to inform my followers, tens of thousands of them, so they are aware. They were happy, they were shocked. Oh, we didn't know. Oh, this and that. Oh, this and that. That is the problem. We need to know those who represent us. How many of them have moved to the houses of their... Take my MP in Boyak, Honorable Malumba. He's very open. He's very open. You can walk to him and say, this is my problem I have. Please, can you take this to Parliament? We have this kind of problem. We don't have ID card. People have... But nobody does that. Okay, now you say that you don't care, they don't care about you. Then why are you complaining? You know they don't care. Why complain? You cannot eat your cake and have it. Whether you like it or not, you are a citizen of the Republic. And as a citizen of the Republic, decisions by those in power will affect you whether you like it or not. So it is incumbent on you to engage your leaders or your representatives to act on your behalf. But we don't care.
Okay, you say we don't care, but I know you have a lot of reporters. You say we don't care, but when we look at the system, we look at how far other laws have been made and how the members of parliament have been able to do other things, like the Anglophone crisis. The Anglophone crisis, we saw them moving to the people without the people even going to discover where they are. We have seen that with the crisis in the north and southwest region. Most of the members of parliament, none of them have offices. Very few have offices in their constituencies. Have a secretariat. I've been to a lot of constituencies. None of them have a secretariat. Do you blame Cameroonians who probably go to see where their offices are? You are unable to see them. They have suitcase offices in Yaoundé. Is it not also part of this problem that they are not taking time to sensitize the people of their rules and restrictions? No. Is it not because these members of parliament are not taking time to sensitize the people to know what their services are?
Javis, we are in the 21st century, in 2022, I know 1930s. You can't possibly tell me that somebody in Manfield who wants to get in touch with their parliamentarian can't have access to that person. It's not possible in 2022. Let's be realistic, let's be honest. We have as responsibility to educate Cameroonians on responsible citizenship, on self-accountability, on ensuring that we have a role to play as Cameroonians for our leaders to act based on that. We cannot just afford to thrive in this laissez-faire and deja vu attitude we exhibit.
Okay, we'll be coming back to you. Greetings to everyone in the studio. I always like your topic, but I will tell you firstly that these big people in the country follow your program, but out of selfishness and always looking for a means to enrich themselves. ID card is the least problem a country should face. Our so-called representatives, since how they don't feel what we feel, because they are inside a convoy, they haven't experienced how a military man would take you to their station because of an ID card issue, which you have just that your face is not clear, so which is not your fault. After 3 years of making ID card is not out. This other one read, it says, good afternoon to you all in the studio. Good afternoon, Mr. Javis. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Mr. Javis. No sector in Cameroon is functioning smoothly, and so we shouldn't fool ourselves that the ID card sector will function well. Mr. Deep Enomba, writing from Addis Ababa, Ethiopia. This round reads, it says, good afternoon. The government is full of the same party and the same chip. That is why there is a full confused. So the love is not there. That's why the Cameroon government is you cannot call a government that way now, my brother. Good day, Javis. We have been talking from time immemorial, but nothing is changing on the ground because those matters do not even watch your TV channel and beautiful programs. They have theirs and consider any other TV station as an instrument of destabilization. Ngole Hana, writing from Limbe. This other one read, it says, the statement that the government is all of us does not hold water. Please, decision making, high state personalities and head of services make up the government. You don't involve the ordinary citizen in the failure of the government. Donatus no writing. And this one says, there apparently the issue of ID card is a total mess. You ask why legislative are keeping quiet about ID card if they can't address the problem of the Northwest and Southwest, which has taken so many lives. What else do you think they can say as concern of ID card? Mr. Bisong, writing in Yaoundé. This one read, good morning to you all, the House of Commons team. The delay in obtaining the national ID card is simply the one of the sign of failure and collapsing of the government. I made my ID card since December 2020 in Yaoundé. Till date, I have been using a récépissé. The original is not out. The government is mute because they have no respect for Cameroonians. We don't care about whom the government signed the contract with. All we want is our ID card. It's our right. I am shocked to see someone in your studio trying to back the government. Give birth in Yaoundé.
That's the problem of Cameroonians. They don't want people to
give birth in Yaoundé.
They want to give their
Mr. Javis, ID card. Mr. Javis, ID card don't expire. It's just a political word to use and to get money from people's pocket. This is Tia writing. Hello, Javis. Happy Sunday to you. I wish to know if your panelist is speaking as a spokesman of the government or as a normal citizen, because we are not aware of this information concerning the contract. Isn't the government supposed to come out in the crisis like this and explain to our citizens what is going on? Bertus writing from Yaoundé. My panelist earlier made mention that he's not speaking on behalf of the government. He's speaking because he is a concerned citizen and also a bona fide CEO of a major news outlet with tens of thousands of views across the world, and so has access to some information that you and I don't have. Good afternoon, Javis, and everyone in the studio. The issue of ID card is like a woman giving birth to another baby. The whole thing is so because we don't have good governance. Still hopefully waiting for a miracle in our country. Truly, we don't have any parliamentarian in the country. They have, please, you don't have to insult our parliament now. Good morning, sir. I am Gole from Bangem. There's a problem of ID card. You will make an ID card stay for about 5 years without coming out. It's really painful. Please, how much is a SIM card so that you say ID card is expensive? A SIM card uses microchips, but it's being sold at 1,100 francs. Being sold at 100 francs. Good morning to you all in the studio. The Parliament, parliamentarians have the money and connection needed to have an ID card within a few days, so they don't care about the masses. Most parliamentarians are there for themselves. This is Bobga Pascal writing from Yaoundé. You wanted to react to a lot of issues raised by Ngate and also by Lucas Tebo. People seemingly are accusing them of wanting to back the government.
Yes, Mr. Tama. If you listen to them, it seems as if they are living in space. Yes.
That is a Cameroonians living in.
They are living in space because it's good. We say we're educating Cameroonians who are contributing to nation building. It's not as if anybody have any personal problem with the government. Yes. He cited that some of the citizens don't even know even the councillors and so on. And it baffles me because if you ask of maybe who is a Tofis, everybody will tell you a Tofis. Maybe you have never even been to their land. Yes, it is because they are not with the people. It is simple. You didn't mention the fact that the people need to go and meet them. My brother, how many people will go and meet them at the time? We know he's representing the people. You go to the people and take their plight and you take it to the parliament. That is how it works. Not the people coming to you to. How many people will visit them? Most of them are in Yaoundé. Even on call, you say in a modern world, you call, they don't take those calls. There's no way that we can deviate the blame from the government. It centers on the government. And my brother talks of lack of information that Cameroonians do, they don't do research and so on. My brother, in our country that we know the nature.
Some Cameroonians. Okay,
we say some Cameroonians. Yes, they don't. And the few that they have the information, how many of them are they informing those that don't have the rights or don't have the way for the access to the information? Good. It is but normal that the government have the right to inform its citizens. It is the right of the citizens. Not to talk of a pertinent issue of an ID card that will say that will go for information. You know, when lack of communication cause a lot of problems. When there is communication, at least uncertainty and way forward, people can see it. Had it been maybe they came out and said this is the problem, the man of Zifumbat and so on that went and did that, maybe you could have that patient in order to know that no, maybe the government is working towards it. But they are just silent. It means that they don't even know where we are driving to. And if we sit here and we're saying that we maybe will only criticize, I'm one of that person that I don't criticize without giving what possible solution. If we have been given possible solution and they are adamant to those facts, then what should we do? What should we do? No, I'm saying, well, I mean on the we'll go on solutions. Like one example, one writer have cited something here that a SIM card costs how much?
I'll explain to you why it costs that amount.
Okay, it is good. You are explaining to us thanks to my media prime. Then what is the role of the government? What is the role of the government? That is our problem. We don't have any. Yes, where is the role of the government?
Should I answer that question?
No, let him land. Let him land. I want him to land. You know, we are in the House of Commons, in the British system. We are supposed to land. Let him land. You have a rebuttal.
And I just want to lay emphasis that we should not deviate from our topic, because our topic is the role of the parliamentarians and the major political parties. That is why, if we are deviating from it, maybe it is another debate.
He raised an issue about that issue that the reason why they are silent is because of several issues. One of which he cited is the issue of interest, and another reason which he cited is the fact that there is a political will. It takes a political will, and people are afraid, parliamentarians are afraid to get involved because they may have their career on the line.
Mr. Tama, how should the parliamentarian look at it?
Please, can I come in? It's taking too long to land.
No,
it's taking too long to land.
The problem is let's look at it. The legislative in any government, I can say that is the pivot.
Yes,
is the pivot. When the legislative is weak, that country is moving towards doom.
Okay,
and that is what we are moving. That is why we need to hold them accountable.
Is it fair to say that you are accusing common legislative of being weak?
They're weak.
They are weak.
That the nation is heading to do.
They are weak. If not, we cannot be running to about 6-7 years.
Mr. Tamai, it's something hot. Let me, brother, let me say something here.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech is very, very good. But freedom of speech should not be confused with hate speech. When you are on TV educating Cameroonians, you should be able to state facts. When you start saying that Cameroon is moving towards doom, what do you define as doom?
Let me explain.
No, he said the case of Cameroon, he said doom. What do you mean by Cameroon moving towards doom?
Listen, I said a country is moving towards doom. That country is moving towards doom, and those characteristics are in Cameroon.
All of us know that you are talking about Cameroon. So why
those characteristics are in Cameroon? If not, we're in a crisis that's supposed not to be. We're moving towards 6 years, and the parliamentarians and they are still silent. Where are we moving to? Where are we moving to?
Okay, you wanted to react.
To begin with, Mr. Tah Mai, Mr. Javis, when you go online and you check, you type the Constitution of Cameroon, it's online, free of charge. What do we young people use our internet for? I just want to start asking. He's saying that no, they're supposed to. Should the government come and tell you about the constitution, what is your right and what is not your right? It's not online. Instead, we use internet to do other things. And let me just inform you. Let me. What can you say? What about those who are online?
No,
why are you saying that?
Continue your point now.
When you come, nextly, how they organized seminars, councillors organized seminars, parliamentarians organized seminars. I mean, Boya, he quoted Malomba, the parliamentarian for Boya. You know how many seminars he has organized to bring young people and tell them what is happening and explain certain things? How many young people have been part of that? I can give you. We young Cameroonians have what we're interested about. It's very easy to come and criticize the government like you are doing. But he took out time. There is a problem. He took out time to understand why that problem exists. But there's a problem. Yes, parliamentarians have failed. They have failed. They're supposed to do this. Let me talk. You were talking.
It is not something.
No, let me talk. How many Cameroonians have you? You are very informed Cameroonian. How many Cameroonians, other young Cameroonians, have you helped to explain to them their rights and duties? Because that's what you should be doing before you're out. Wait. That's
what I'm doing.
Not only here, because what you are doing here is mostly to criticize. Yes, what you have done here. Let me explain. Let me talk. I'm killing you. Look at as a concerned Cameroonian, you have rights and duties. I noted earlier. You have the right to criticize and also to blame yourself where you have failed. I have not heard any failure of his. All I've heard is that the government is a bad one, is leading to doom. And more to that, let me come back to the issue of ID cards.
That's what
yes. No, because he said a lot of things. He said a lot of things. Mr. Javis, I was expecting as a concerned Cameroonian. I don't know where he stays. I have done that. Yes. The beginning of this debate, I told you how worrisome this issue of ID card is, and I told you that how we are willing that parliamentarians should try to solve, or the government or whoever is concerned to solve this issue. That is what I mean by you are worried about the situation, you are expecting that something should be done, but you are doing something. I cannot mention the number of young people I have helped to go get their ID cards, because is there something you said that ID cards lying in the police station? Yes, we go there, we abandon. If the ID card is so important to us, before I got my ID card, I was going there almost every week. But young Cameroonians, once you go there, it's not available. You stay like for 5 months. I was going there every week, and what I'm doing is that when I go there, there are numbers online to tell you. There are systems online where if you need your ID card, and we have helped many young Cameroonians to identify their ID. That's what we ask. That's our duty.
Okay, let me follow for you. You said parliamentarians have been organizing seminars. You quoted with Malumba.
So I'm quoting my parliamentarian. Yes.
You quoted Malumba.
Yes.
That has been organizing seminars in Boya. But when we look at this Boya itself, we have people from Mekona and the environment, which is a highly crisis zone. We have people from Mautu. We have people from Mamu. We have people from part of Muyuka, because it's part of Muyuka is not part of Boya. We have also people from within my 16 and Bonakanda, Bova, and the rest. So all these people will have to travel to Boya. Don't we need to have a meet the people store by parliamentarian, or let's say a kind of way that the parliamentarian organize some of these seminars from stop to the common mami that doesn't understand English?
Javis, if you're a parliamentarian and you organize something in maybe Boya, in Moliko or in Yubi, and the people around don't come, by the way they are busy, how will you feel? Will you be encouraged? Let's forget about I'm not the way I'm saying is that I'm feeling their pain. The way I'm saying, what I'm talking about is, it's easy when you work with young people. Yes, you see young people leaving my 16, even leave a corner to come and enjoy Las Vegas. But yet, when they organize a seminar, they cannot leave a corner to come. It's really true that our government has failures, but we should take our responsibilities too, like young people. Yes, we will not blame the government forever. Can we not change by us blaming the government? We too have something. Yes,
I want you to react because he will raise some issues that you will also be tempted to speak.
Okay, talking about issue of Organizing seminar. You cannot be expecting the people to go after parliamentarians. The people have already given their mandate to the parliamentarians. So you cannot be expecting them to be going to them all the time. Most of these parliamentarians are living, they are out of the people. They are disconnected from the people. I take, for example, the BLM where I come from. My parliamentarian doesn't live in the BLM.
So how long? Do you go to BLM?
Of course, he goes to the BLM.
You go to the BLM. How long do you go? I'm talking about my parliamentarian.
No, he's talking about his own constituency.
I'm talking about my constituency.
No, Javis, the thing is that now when we're talking, that's why I've used the key word. Yes, I've used the key word. Yes. I'm talking. Let me just come before you continue. I've used the key word some. When you are talking, don't say the government parliamentarians. Talk about your parliamentarians.
No, he just talked about the BLM and he wanted to learn.
Yes. That's deductive reasoning.
No,
because one is not. That's deductive reasoning.
I'm talking of
people are bringing philosophy. Let's be coherent.
I'm talking of coherent. Please,
there's a lot of rowdiness. Let's be coherent.
No, it's not rowdiness.
I talk of my constituency.
Yes.
The BLM. The parliamentarian was voted when I was there. I was living there. I was still a student, a high school student, maybe at that time. And the parliamentarian is still there up to today. By that time, the parliamentarian wasn't living there. I'm talking of before the crisis, not during the crisis. The parliamentarian is still there to today. He only comes there maybe during campaigns or during election or meeting when maybe a minister is coming or maybe something of their party is at stake. That's when they go to the people. So, and this is common with almost all parliamentarians in Cameroon. They live by Yaoundé, they do not live in their constituency. So how the people are disconnected from them. Most of them don't even have secretariats in their own constituency. So how do you expect when they come, they live in their own houses, they have maybe their personal houses they have in the villages or in the constituency. They live there. They don't have a secretariat. So how do you even expect when they come, the people are not even aware that they are around, maybe except the neighbors. So how do you expect the people to feel? So you are voted into parliament to represent the aspirations of your people. And you don't care. The people don't know what you are doing there. And they only see you during the next campaign. So how do you intend now to blame the people when you are disconnected from them? And you judge that generally, this is how all parliamentarians in Cameroon behave. They live there after their interests, they're after their contracts, and
so what should be the way forward now for this parliamentarian? You have articulated that they are silent, they are disconnected with the people, they are based in Yaoundé, and so what should be the way forward?
The bone of contention is the whole parliament itself. The constitution of Cameroon is talking of 3 arms of government: the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. But in Cameroon, we don't see this separation of powers. We see the executive lording on these other arms of government. The legislative, for example. Most of them.
When you say we don't see separation of power, what do you mean? We have watched the parliament debating bills. We have watched the parliament also questioning the Minister of Territorial Administration. We have watched the parliament sending back some bills to be looked into. And when you say we don't have separation of power, what do you mean?
There's actually no separation of power, because you see, for example, even during a budget, by November next month, the parliament will be holding to establish the budget for next year. You will see ministers come and defend budget. The parliamentarians are sometimes afraid to even ask these ministers questions. Yes, they give them questions in advance to study, then before coming to the parliament to answer. This is what happens in parliament.
Is it? Yes. Are you part of? Have you been to the parliament before? One of their sessions?
I don't need to know the parliament.
No, Javis. This is something else.
I'm telling you what happens there.
You don't talk about the parliament like this in a derogatory manner without being sure. What do you mean by the parliamentarians are afraid to ask ministers questions?
Because of their personal interest.
What is personal interest? How?
Okay, let me tell you. Most of these parliamentarians are contractors.
Nick,
please.
Nick.
No, Nick. We are not debating. Allow me to. No. You are not a spokesman for the parliament. Allow me to make my point.
I'm because you cannot come and say things like this.
No,
I give them questions before.
Why you appointing parliament? If you are not informed, go and find out. Why do you
Are you using the fact that
you have time to react.
I am saying that
Who's parliamentarian of asking questions?
my brother, if you don't know,
Bangem, then you should tell the parliamentarian Bangem told you that he's afraid of asking questions. Yes. How can you come and say here on Commons, House of Commons that
my brother,
you are defending the interest of the common, yes.
no, you don't defend the interest of the common lies.
Please.
Can you prove them?
Let's take on this break.
Can you prove them?
Let's go on this break.
You cannot prove them. You don't call them facts. Those are sessions. I hear say quarter talk.
Okay. You're welcome back from that transition. We want to apologize. Okay. That's how the debate goes. Briefly, 1 minute, so that we'll go to the Sea of Table.
I was saying that
what in Cameroon, the politics in Cameroon, what obtains on paper is not what obtains on the terrain. This is the nature of our country. This is the political terrain of our country. Most of these parliamentarians are business people. They're contractors. And sometimes they are afraid to ask certain questions to certain ministers because these ministers hold signatures to certain contracts are supposed to execute or to in their constituency. So sometimes if you ask some certain information, if you overexpose them, they will refuse to sign some contracts for you. This is what happens in Parliament.
You wanted to raise the issue. You wanted to react on the issue of why is it that passport cannot be ID card cannot be produced like passport, and also SIM card issue. Why is it that is 100 francs whereas the ID card is that, and as well as also you wanted to give some rebuttals.
Thank you very much, Javis. Well, I think that it's necessary that we understand the mechanism through which some of these things function before we dive into them. First of all, a passport, I think it's a laudable initiative. We had this similar kind of problem with passport until the one-stop shop was created, and then now people can have passport within 1 or 2 days, which is excellent depending on where you are. But the passport we have, or the passport the government currently produces, is different from ID card. The passport is just a piece of paper. The ID card Cameroonians have is an electronic document.
The new passport is electronic also.
It is not. It is produced electronically, but it does not include or contain any electronic component.
It has.
It does not. It does not. Your new passport does not have any electronic component. It is produced electronically. These are two different things. But your ID card, your national identity card, they include their inbuilt chips in it, which is an electronic component.
No, it doesn't work for now.
That's the debate.
You said it does not.
That's the debate for another day. Of course, it is not being utilized at the moment. Now, why is it that you can buy an ID card for 100 francs, and then people are saying that? So why is you can buy a SIM card for 100 francs, but meanwhile the ID card is expensive? Now this is how it works. The SIM cards you buy, some is even for free. You don't really buy them. The SIM cards are bought by your telecom provider.
Owned by the telecom provider?
It is owned by a telecom provider. Without that SIM card, you cannot use MTN or Orange or Camtel network. So even if that SIM card costs 50,000 francs, your telecom provider buys it for you, subsidize it, and gives you at a giveaway price for free.
Because he knows that
you use their services and spend hundreds of thousands for their calls, data, and other messages. That is why it is cheap. It is not because that SIM card you buy for 100 francs of MTN, it costs 100 francs. No. Initially, those SIM cards were selling for 30,000, 10,000, 5,000, 2,000. It is very expensive. But somebody somewhere is paying it for you because they believe that, or it is obvious that when you buy it, you spend triple, in fact, trillions of times more than what you spend on that SIM. So you cannot use that logic. So when we are on set, we should separate ourselves from quarter discussion. That's quarter discussion. Oh, this and that.
It was a message sent by somebody.
He approved it. He approved it. He affirmed the message. I'm not trying to say that. No, people, we are here to help Cameroonians to understand the realities. We are not saying that. We are not saying that it's all glory. No, there are a lot of challenges Cameroonians face. with this present government, which I don't align myself with their vision for Cameroonians. But what I don't also align myself is with the philosophy of individual Cameroonians. No government is more powerful than the people. No government on earth. The people make the government. In a country of 27 million people, our voters turnout is 3 million people.
It's poor.
3 million people are voting in a country
And
of 20.
only 1 million something voted.
That is true. If you do a sample here, when was the last time any of us voted? I might be wrong. Maybe not the two people who tell that they voted this year. How many of us here have a voter's card, a sample? Maybe out of 5 of us.
I do.
No, I don't want to go into the statistics. I just said that maybe out of 5 of us here.
I do.
Maybe we don't have. That is the story of Cameroonians. So when you say that your parliamentarian is not accountable to you, your parliamentarian is afraid to ask questions in parliament, that's your problem. That is why you have to vote him out of office. That is why you are the vote holder. That's why you have to mobilize. They have to look for a person that you can.
That's theoretical
politics.
No, let's be clear. Please, let me land. I think
we don't have opposition MPs in government in the lower house. We don't have opposition.
Let's take on some messages, please. We'll come to that. I know you land. Nice program. Please let control our emotions and try to permit others to give their opinions peacefully. Tell Mr. Right to give his opinion and allow others to do same. I don't know who is Mr. Right, who is Mr. Wrong. The House of Commons today is more of a Portuguese parliament. There's no other like previous. We apologize for that if you think we have different views. Mr. Javis, please, I think the purpose of the program is to be objective and coherent in debating while presenting facts to educate the public. Some of the members of the panel should exercise some restraint when other person is talking. The loud argument makes it look more like edit writing from USA. Mrs. Gotten, please, Mr. Javis, we need to educate Cameroonians, and you guys are there in the studio to do so. But please let the parliamentarian let the parliamentarians beside you. Let the parliamentarian and the lawyer beside you there allow other panelists to air their point, because he is just there to defend the parliament and government. I am Eli, writing from Victoria in Douala. And this one, Victoria in Limbe. This one, he says, good afternoon. For real, we are nailed on the wall. We are nailed on the wall. The government is misleading her own people. That's why other countries do not have respect for Elias Malabo. Elias writing from Malabo. Your point is gotten. Good happy Sunday, Mr. Javi. This is a wonderful topic. Let me shock my fellow Cameroonians of the cacophony. They always worry themselves of called legislative and arm of the government. That means that as per Cameroon, only things that are discussed there must always come from the government in the form of bills for government interest and not for community. Whatever you tell your community representative to take it, there is just a waste of time, because members of the bills are not allowed. If you doubt me, please remember were you in any debate of the legislative house because of a particular community that was initiated by their representative. I think Cameroon is not taken. Good afternoon to you in the studio. Why is it that during an election, legislators come to look for us, but when it comes to time for work, for us, one gentleman say we should be chasing them again? Henry writing from Boya. How will you people vote for elections without possessing an ID card, which is a criterion for registration? That is coming from, we have just few minutes to go, and since the cameras is placed on Yumba Luka table, I want to ask you, what is the way forward? Is it not time for the laissez-passer to be more durable?
I think that there are a lot of things we can do, but firstly, we have to, there's what we call an Information Act, I think, which doesn't currently exist. I think the Information Act is supposed to be implemented in Parliament and compels government officials to give out information to Cameroonians on time and when Cameroonians want it. It has happened in almost every democracy, and it should happen here, because a lot of things are happening, and it's only when we are at the point of a crisis that government comes out to do damage control, which is not good. as our officials, they are supposed to explain to us, preempt a particular situation and explain to us before time. With respect to the ID card crisis, I think that what can be done at this point in time is to hasten up the process and ensure that the satellite centers are created in all the other regions, and then so that Cameroonians can have their ID cards as it should. I cannot personally advocate for the fact that we should be going back to a technology which is of the past. We should work with the time. We are moving forward. So this is wonderful. This is good on paper, let's put it that way. So how should we implement and ensure that it's working? So we should ensure that whatever it is, a discrepancy between the government and the contractor, it should be resolved, and the ID card can be produced in huge quantity to satisfy the demands of Cameroonians. It is after all for the general good of every Cameroonian.
Okay, Mr. Javis, I don't think that the guy who is talking understands Cameroon. He believes so much in this government. He is not educating us. He is defending the government, Mr. Alexander from Bahrain. What should be the way forward?
the way forward should still. Today, my problem is at the level of the legislative.
Yes. What should be the way forward?
So they should struggle to put these things practically. Those arm of government should be independently, as in theory, it should be transformed practically. So that when things happen like this, we should be able to be informed, and it should be discussed in parliament. And more to that, our country should always come out with a scale of preference. So that we have the scale of preference. The country, when I talk of scale of preference, I'm talking of the more pressing issues. Like I rarely mentioned here that an ID card should not even be an issue to Cameroonians. It shouldn't. If it is an issue here, it is showing the weaknesses of the government. No matter how we play the game and so on, the ball is still on their court. Let competence give to those who merit, so that Cameroonians will forge ahead. Thank you.
Okay, what should be the way forward, Ngate?
Javis, some of your messages were very, very interesting.
There are a lot I've not even read, which are interesting.
It just tells us who the Cameroonian is, that we just want to criticize. But apart from that, I think that I said before, at the beginning, that the issue of ID card is really a worrying situation for us who stay in Boya, because for me to forget my ID card, I prefer to go out without money than to go out without my ID card, because I know the importance. Yes, I know what has happened to me before my ID card came. We are just praying that the government, I don't think that it's at the level of the parliament now. The government should sort it out with the company that is involved, like Mr. Tebo said, and let the issue be tackled. So
the parliamentarians should be left.
No, the government can still be sorted out.
You know the check and balance.
Wait, you don't need. What I'm saying is that you don't need to take it to the parliament for this thing. The president can give a decree. The Cameroonians are crying. The president can just give. Yes. No, the president can. No. Which one is easier? What I'm saying is that it does not need to go to the parliament for a long debate. Yes, you have to stay to sign. Yes, the issue is that the parliament. The issue is that the ID card should be solved, and we just think that.
Will we not make it more durable, the laissez-passer? More durable if we have this number of
laissez-passer, the paper.
Like how many years?
More durable.
ID card is 10 years. So how
no, we are talking about the durable, the material.
Okay.
Yes. It lasts for how many years?
It lasts for, because mine is going to 2 years.
Okay.
My face can no longer recognize
any purpose, because you cannot use that laissez-passer for so many things, banking transactions.
At least for recognition, so that I'm not embarrassed constantly.
Yeah, because he's talking about police here. So also while we are crying on the government or the legislative, whatever, we are crying on the situation to be solved, we are also saying that Cameroonians to take it to get informed. Also, let those who don't have ID cards please go to where it was created, or you go to other neighboring places. You might just discover your ID card like I did for mine.
Okay. Way forward, briefly, we're out of time.
Yeah, I think the way forward shouldn't just be waiting for the president to give decrees and or to force the delegate general on national security to work. It is the duty of the parliamentarians to step into this matter now, and then luckily Parliament is sitting next month. I think they should put this in their agenda and then try to ask questions why this is happening. The president has given power to the police boss to work. And then the Secretary General of the Presidency can maybe call him to order and then ask why these things are not happening. No, we don't need the president in all of this. So it is for those who have been given the responsibility to do this and then to shoulder their responsibility and make sure that Cameroonians have ID cards, not just blaming it on the president and the rest. People should be wholly accountable for their failures. Okay. What of sacking those who are blocking all of this? We need this to happen also. So, because there are some people who are just like obstacles for government to move forward. Yes, we should see this kind of things happening. Not people occupying posts for 10 years and then they are not delivering. You sack them.
Yeah. G. Clinton from Fontem says happy Sunday. We're out of time. We want to thank Yumba Lucas Tebo from bracing the earth, Ground Zero, to come here. Once again, say thank you for coming.
Thank you very much, Johnny. Thank you.
And of course, we want to say thank you, Nick, for coming.
Yeah, thank you once more for having me here.
And we hope in the days ahead we shall see changes in the issue of ID cards in Cameroon. And we hope that the parliamentarians will talk about it.
We're out of time. Thank you for coming, Edmond.
Thank you, Mr. Tanya. The pleasure is mine.
Of course, I want to thank you, Donan Gate, for coming. It's a privilege.
Thank you, Javis. Thank you, thank you. We just pray that things are solved.
You have been baptized, the lawyer of the government.
for nothing. Just imagine. Why I'm also suffering the way Cameroonians are so
well, we want to thank you all. In case you want to be a member of the panel of House of Commons, you want to join the debate, you can contact me on the numbers on your screen, 676-431-384. We'll include you into the WhatsApp group of the House of Commons team. And when we put the topic there, if it's of your interest, you can indicate and you come and talk on the topic, rather than just blaming people that this person is not saying this person should have said this. Come and speak and take responsibility for your statement. We are free and it's an open platform. You don't need to pay to be a member of the panel. You don't need to pay to participate. It's free and you can participate on the program and give your opinions. We appreciate those of you who send in your text messages. Some of the messages were not read. Some of them were highly vocal and insultive. We pray that please, when you're writing to us, be a bit subtle and note that people have their individual opinion and they respect their own opinion and also respect their opinion. This program comes out every Sunday at exactly 12 to 1:30. I want to say thank you, Desmond, Akeba, and also thank you to all the technicians, Noel at the broadcasting, and also my brother here at the studio manager. I want to thank you all and stay blessed until we meet again. No matter the matter, what matters is your matter. And what should matter for you is that you should go and get your voters card ready. 2025, it is our rendezvous. Bye-bye.